also noted that in the beginning, when we first started working together, you were paying $350 for wigs. So it doesn't look like you're wearing a wig today. Looks like you may have ditched the wig situation for a bit.
And the hair altogether.
Right. No hair, don't care. Well, what's up, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me again for another podcast episode. I am so excited. I'm always going to be excited. That's my job, to be excited. But I'm going to be excited today because we have another one of our financial integrity financial family clients with us. She is near and dear to my heart. And her name is Janai. Janai, say hi to the people.
Hey, everybody.
For those of you watching on YouTube, thanks for taking the time. For those of you on the podcast, again, thank you for taking the time. So today we're going to talk about, Janai is in our young people category. I like to call it, makes me sound old, but I'm not really old. Y'all know that, right? Okay. So, but we want to talk about the young adults, you know, that are in their 20s, coming into their career and getting started with adulting. We started with Janai when she was 24, so kind of fresh out of college. And her mother thought, hey, you know what? Now's a good time. She just graduated from college. Let's, you know, make sure that she is on the right financial foundation. And so she brought her to my office and said, here she is. No, that's not how it went, but she did bring her to my office and wanted us to just sit down and talk with her. And so at the time when we met Janai, she was already rocking and rolling, really, quite honestly. What would you say, do you feel like you've been disciplined with money growing up? Were you always, you know, like saving your money some of the time, or did that start as you became an adult, or how was that for you?
No, not at all. Especially because I was a daddy's girl. To me, money grew on trees. So I didn't know.
Daddy got it. I mean, what?
I didn't really hear no a lot with that. So no, and it was always just go to school, play basketball, do well, we'll give you what you need. So
right.
up until then, even then, I look back now, and I was talking to my friend the other day. In grad school, I don't know how I was living the way I was living on that salary, because I feel like I can't do it now, and I don't know how I did it then. So no, the discipline with money was not there.
Gotcha. So what got it started? Because when you came to us at the time you came to us, I have noted that you had $9,000 at that time. So what was kind of the turning point for you, you know, to say, all right, I need to do something different?
Graduating, because my mom said, you know, now that you graduate, you need to take a look at all your loans. I'm like, my loans? Okay, sure. And when I first logged in to see that one Discover loan, my heart dropped. So I think that, because you have 6 months after you graduate, I think you have to start payments. And so in that time, she's like, you need to start thinking about that and factoring out how you're going to pay for all that. And I'm like, all that, it can't be that much. But once I took a look, I started to figure out that it wasn't matching up with what I could pay, with how I wanted to live. And I did start saving, but it was now, compared to where I am now, it feels like, oh, I wasn't doing anything.
Right. But I mean, it was a good start though, because a lot of people that are in your age category do not do a good job with saving. They don't have the discipline necessary, and especially when they're living at home, many of them, because they weren't forced to, or it wasn't necessarily taught in the home, tend to just, you know, kind of be willy-nilly, you know, like you said you were once upon a time, like, hey, daddy got it, so what I can use my money for this because daddy got me on that. You know. And so a lot of people, even if they're not daddy's girls, just in general, they have the opportunity to live at home being adults, definitely have been spending their money just any kind of way and not saving the way they should. Or even if they are saving, sometimes they don't know how much they should be saving. So they just, you know, I saved $1,000, so I'm good. What's the problem? You know what I mean? Like they did something, or they saved $2,000 or $3,000 and like, well, I got $3,000. You know, what's the problem? There's a large problem. There's a deficit on education, financial education and financial literacy. So, so you had the $9,000 at the time, but you also had a whopping drum roll, $210,000 of student loan debt. So I know when you, like you said, when you logged in, you know, you probably were like, oh my goodness. What in the world? Becky. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, and I know I'm sure that some of our listeners and watchers, when I said 210 were probably like, I'm sorry, wait a minute, what? Did you rewind that? Did she say yeah, I did.
Mhm.
She owed, past tense. Come on, here's somebody
Yeah.
owed with an ED.
Okay.
$210,000. And yes, that's a very, very big deal. But she did get a degree to show for it, and she's working and thriving and doing very well. So what came along with that when we started meeting, and like depending on career paths and that type of thing, for some clients coming out of college, they don't always everybody's not starting at $100,000 a year salary, which you can feel like pretty much that's what you need in order to be able to pay off a $210,000 loan. Like, okay, I just got a house. I got a degree in a house at the same time without the house, all of that. So, and so she was coming out of college. You started out at like a $57,000 a year salary. Now that would cause some people, quite honestly, to pause. Like, okay, was it worth it to spend $210,000 to go to school, to get a degree, to make $57,000? But I think in the bigger picture, it's important to point out that though you made that decision, that's what happened. You didn't stay at 57,000. You're very ambitious and a go-getter. And so, we all have the ability to create the life that we want.
Yeah.
And so you have been rocking and rolling in that vein, because that was 2019. Now we're in 2023, and you've made great strides. You've moved up pay grades and increases and bonuses and some of everything that you're nowhere near the 57,000 now, and that was just a short 3 years ago, and you're not even 30 yet. You know what I mean? So and so one of the hardest things that I would say for her, and I'll let her speak to this, that I told her that she needed to stay at home. She wanted to live out on her own, and and rightfully so. Why wouldn't you want to live out on your own as an adult? I want to have my own place. I want to do this, do that. I got my job. And so, that's a good goal to aspire to. But I kindly told her that she needed to stay at home so that she could pay these student loans down. Was I kind about it? Do you remember how I said
it? I just remember that first meeting. I left and I had a headache for 2 days.
I am so sorry, not sorry.
Because I came there just knowing I was telling you I was moving out, and I thought I was there for you to tell me how I was going to move out in the next 4 to 5 months.
Right. And here I come just busting your bubble.
Yeah. That was done. You're like, I'm going to help you move out. It's not going to be in 4 to 5 months, but we'll get there. So it was quite the mindset shift too. Because to your point, I forgot I even saved up that much at that time, but I really thought I was doing something. Like, I'm like, look what I can do. Everything else must be able to fall in line afterwards. But I didn't have that bigger picture yet. So that's what that first meeting we had, like, you brought me back into actual reality. And you never said we couldn't do it. You just said we can't do it in that little short time frame that you think.
That's right. We just need to give it a little more time. Now, realistically, a lot of people would be impatient in that area and just be like, well, I don't care what she say, I'm gonna move because I just need to have my own place. I just yeah. Even though the goal was, for me to give you advice that's in your best interest, And so that was obviously a difficult pill to swallow, especially if you got other friends that also graduated and now they're living on their own. How difficult was that when, you're talking to your friends and they're like, girl, you gonna move? And yeah, not yet.
Yeah, I'll be honest. It was definitely a source of shame for a little bit. It's like, I had got my master's too. So I didn't have any loans for my master's program. I did a GA-ship, so they paid for school, for grad school, because I refused to take out any more loans after undergrad. So that 210 is unfortunately just from those 4 years of undergrad. But everybody else is moving into this new phase of life, and I'm moving back into the room that I've been in since second grade. So it's like I'm trying to figure out how to move into a new phase of life, and I'm really not moving into a new phase of life. So it just didn't feel like it all matched up. But I will say, I'll credit my friends to that. Like, they were also very supportive. And I think that makes a big difference, because the immediate people around me were making me feel that way. It was kind of what I'm seeing on social media, what I hear you're supposed to do. Honestly, like older people telling me you're still at home. When I was 18, 19, I didn't even go to school and I was still, I'm like, all right. I had to really understand like their journey
Wow.
is not my journey, but my friends were very supportive, even though they were moving into their cute high-rise apartments. And I could visit whenever I wanted to, and I can pretend, got to do a little mind games there. But it was hard. I think still to this day, it's a little hard, even now that I'm older, because at
Right.
that point I could say, I am really young. I just graduated.
Yeah.
I can say I didn't just graduate and all those things, but I have a good plan and I've executed that plan thanks to you very well. And so I think it has paid off. So I don't have that same sort of shame or guilt anymore.
I know that's right. I know that's right. And I don't want to gloss over the fact that you brought up how sometimes the older generation can, mean well, but just don't have the right words coming out of their mouth at times of,
Yeah.
saying things like, oh, not really understanding and realizing how damaging your words can be when you're like, oh, you still at home, and it's all judgmental. They don't know why you home. You home. You're not just home chilling like, oh yeah, what y'all cooking for dinner? Y'all gonna pay my cell phone bill tomorrow? You at
Yeah.
home on a mission. And I've said this before in a previous podcast. Like, if your adult child is at home and they're, of age to not be at home, there
Mhm.
needs to be a plan. Like, they're
Mhm.
not home. They shouldn't be home just to be home loafing off of you, because you're hindering them
Mhm.
from learning how to be an adult and how to be a productive citizen in life. So if they are at home, they need a plan. Like, what is the plan? Are you working? Not working is not an option. That's
Yeah.
the no plan. So they need to be working. But not only that, you got to make sure that they are learning financial responsibility, because if you don't, then how are you're hindering them and setting them up to be dependent on you when they do move out, because they will not have learned how to manage money while they're at home. So by the time they move out and they go live in their own apartment, their own house, their own whatever, they're you're setting them up, helping them to be set up for financial downfall
Right.
potentially, because they didn't learn that, oh, I actually got to pay rent. Oh, I actually got to have a budget and pay some bills. I actually got to save money. I actually got to be responsible and pay stuff on time. I don't just give it to my mom or give it to my dad and they pay it for me. Like,
Mhm.
all of that stuff matters to them being a successful adult. And every parent always wants the best for their child. At least most parents do.
Mhm.
So part of that is helping them learn financial responsibility. So anyway, I hope that for those of you that are older and listening, maybe perhaps that might have been you at some point in time that may have told an 18-year-old or a 22-year-old, when I was your age, I would have been out the house. No, 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 no. Just keep in mind that sometimes things are not as they seem. What your eyes see that person is at home does not mean they're at home because they're being lazy. So just something to keep in mind and extend a little grace. A little
Yes,
grace.
that's a little bit.
Just a little bit, just a little bit. So I applaud you for being, willing to step up to the plate and say, you know what, I can do this. It's hard, but I can do this, even though my friends are doing other stuff, because I'm sure that you also saw that what comes with them having their own apartment is extra bills. Extra expenses and all this extra stuff, parking and depending on where they live, all of this extra stuff that you did not have to worry about. So it was a blessing in your particular case that that you were a good child, if you will, and that your parents felt like, okay, you know what, I know you're trying to get situated, you want to get these student loans paid, and you know what, you can stay at home. And so doing so has absolutely paid off for you tremendously. Now, I also noted that in the beginning, when we first started working together, you were paying $350 for wigs. Now, I have heard that before on multiple occasions from the younger ones. It's usually the people in your age bracket between 20 and 30. Most of the time, I'm not saying that the older women don't do it too, but I definitely hear it from the younger crew where they're spending $350, $500 for a wig. And I'm like, some of them I'm looking at like,
Yeah.
where's the 500 exactly? Because I'm not seeing it. It's yeah.
Not there.
350. Yeah. So it doesn't look like you're wearing a wig today.
No.
Looks like you may have ditched the wig situation for a bit.
And the hair all together.
Right. No hair, don't care.
Yeah, it like perfectly aligned with my journey. I decided to cut it off during COVID because I was just work. I wasn't really taking care of it. And I was like, let me just start over during COVID. Nobody can see me anyways.
Right.
I cut it off and ended up liking it and kept it. And I accidentally started saving a whole lot of money because how much money do you need to take care of a half inch of hair? So
Right.
it has somehow that has aligned with my financial journey, and not even on purpose, but
Yeah.
I cut my own hair, color my own hair. I do my own nails now. Like and I actually like to do my own nails now. I don't know if you remember that, but I was getting my nails done. I had standing nail appointments
I
every.
had note in here about that, nails and feet, that you gave it up in order to, to prioritize your financial goals. And that's a big girl move right there for real, because we know how we women
Yeah.
feel about getting our nails and feet done. Now there's some of you that are listening like, oh, I don't do all that, so that I don't be paying all that money. But there are many more who are like, yeah, I got to get my nails done. I can't be looking any kind of way. I need my feet done. I need this. I need that. So for some, it's a very, very big deal when you get used to spa time, and now all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna need to cut back on that. So now you said you actually like doing your own nails.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's like it's me time and I get to do it exactly the way I want to do it. Like I don't have to fuss with anyone who doesn't understand what it is I want them to do and execute that. I don't know. I would have never envisioned myself having this hobby, but it actually is a hobby now. And I have a lot of family and friends who will ask me to do their nails, and I say absolutely not. I didn't say I
Yeah, this
wanted
is
to
for
be a
me
help.
only.
Yes, this is me time for
Right.
Janai to do her nails on her own.
I love it. I think that's really great. That's really great. So just as a side note, you were only buying the wigs once a year, because I know some people that buy them more frequently than that. They got a whole wig collection, about as many as they have shoes, they got wigs. But in your case, you were buying them once a year, but now you've saved that $350 and given up the nails and feet money. Like that's huge for somebody that's 20. How old are you now? 26, 27, 20 what?
Wait.
You 28? Wow. Okay. All right. That is awesome. That's so mature of you to to be in that headspace, because really the sky is the limit. Once you get wrapped around, like I have a financial plan. I follow my budget. I'm pretty solid on, things. You're thinking through things when you're making your decisions and whatnot. Even with the car, let's talk about that for a minute, because you bought a car. You had a car that your dad had bought for you, and that was, you said, eventually it was on its last leg because you had it for, quite a while.
Mhm.
And so you ended up having to buy a car in 2020. And that was 16,000 rounded, that you ended up paying for that car. So that was a used car. What year was it?
Uh, 2019.
Okay. Oh, so it wasn't too used. Okay.
No, what is it? Certified pre-owned?
Yeah. Okay, that's good. That's good. So 16, somewhere around 16,000 is what you paid for the car in 2020. And can I tell y'all that she paid off this car in 10.4 months? Come on, somebody. Now, some people would like be quick to judge and be like, well, she living at home. If I lived at home, I could pay off my car. Da, 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 da. Please. There are plenty of people living at home who do not pay off their car. So it is a very, very big deal for her to make the choice to say, though she could have just continued making $200-300 payments for the next 4 or 5 years, she made a conscious effort to say, you know what, I can just go ahead and knock that out. There's no need for me to keep this, because in her bigger goal, when she moves out, she wants to buy a house, y'all. She wants to buy a house. And in order for her to buy a house, there's some things she had to get in place, starting with money. And you can't save all that you want to be able to save, if you're spending out too much money on other things. And so she got her priorities straight. In fact, I think somebody told me, one of your friends, I think, referenced you as like you're the mom of the group. She's like become the financial mom of her friend group. Is that right?
Yeah, I tried. Yeah, I have to say it. I didn't want to be that person in the beginning, but like once you start learning stuff,
Yeah,
it starts clicking. You want it to click for your friends too. And it
absolutely.
wasn't like I was being preachy. I think it was just when I subconsciously and consciously started acting that way, it showed in my actions. So when my friends are asking me, oh, can you do this? Can you do that? If I say no or I say yes, I'm also telling them why yes or no. And so I think once they started hearing how I was thinking, they would ask me questions and like come to me and be like, what would you do, hypothetically speaking, if you were in this situation? So yes,
you're becoming wise counsel. Come on here.
Just a little bit. A little bit.
That is awesome. That is absolutely awesome. So, and in fact, you have, I know your mom has even said you get on her nerves trying to keep people in check.
WWBD, what would Breanna do? Okay, because that's what you told us to do. She didn't tell us to do that.
Yeah, she said you just get on her doggone nerves with all the love in her heart. You know, you would have to know her mom to understand how she says this with such sarcasm, because she absolutely loves her daughter. But, you know, she'll say in a minute, she get on my nerves trying to tell me what to do and how to stay on this and stay on that, you know, but she is been rocking and rolling and really been an example to many. So I'm just so proud of her, so very proud of her. So the 15,000, like we said, you paid that off in 10.4 months. So that was gone. You bought it in 2020 and it was paid off by, what was it, January of 2021, I think?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So a very short window of time. And also I had noted by that point in September of 2020, while you were still paying down the car, you had also grown your savings from the original 9,000 to $20,181. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So you doubled your savings and was working on paying off a car and while working on paying down student loans all at the same time, and still putting money aside for retirement, all of that, and still traveling. Let me just make sure that y'all are clear on this, that it's not like I told her to take her entire check and put it towards a student loan, although some of y'all might feel like she should have. But you have to have a balance. It's easy to point out what somebody else should be doing when you're not in their situation. But it's important to be realistic. You know, you set your goals and you still have to be realistic about everyday life. You know, she's not eating Franks and beans and, you know, canned soup every day. She's still eating normal meals and everything. And, you know, she didn't lose no weight by doing this financial plan. You know, I'm not saying she gained weight, but I'm saying she didn't have to go on a diet in order to position herself better financially to be able to accomplish all of these things between car, student loan, retirement, travel, and all this other stuff. So, so kind of fast forward, let me see. So what would you say, was there a hard part or any during this last 3 years? Is there, other than like the beginning where it was like, you know, the shame, like you talked about, during the last 3 years, before you got to where you were like, all right, I'm doing this period, was there any time period that you feel like was kind of hard during your journey?
Yes, I would say, which might not make the most sense, but I think when I got maybe my last raise, when I was already pretty far into the journey, I think when I got my last raise and I started making money where I'm like, okay, on paper, this sounds like I should be able to live this kind of life now. Yeah. On one hand, I was happy because that meant I could put more money towards my student loans. But on the other hand, I was thinking, I'm putting all this money towards student loans. There's so many other things now that I have all this quote unquote extra money that I could be doing with it. So it was almost like a regression when I'm on the last leg of the journey. And it was, and I think also because of my friend groups, we're kind of all getting to that point in our career where we're making, you know, the bigger bucks and we're able to do more. So again, my friends have always been supportive, but now the things that I'm missing out on, I feel like I'm missing out on like the really cool stuff now that we can do now that we're older and now that we even know that those different experiences exist. So it's like, as my money was growing, the experiences that I wanted to do was growing, but I still couldn't get to them quite yet. So now I feel like I'm so close to not be able to still do it. So it's again the best place I've been in financially, but like mentally, I'm like, ooh, I'm right there. And because I feel like I'm right there, it feels it's probably the hardest part right now, honestly.
Gotcha. Okay. So on that note, I want to dig into that, but I'm going to take us on a quick break and then I'm going to dive right back into that. We'll be right back. And we're back. If you're just tuning in, thank you for joining us. You'll absolutely want to make sure that after you finish listening to the rest of this, that you go back to the beginning, because we've been talking about some good stuff. Okay. And I'm not just saying that because it's me, but it's some good conversation that has happened today. So where we left off, we were talking to Janai, who's one of our Integrity Financial Family clients. And we were talking about her journey and her experience, and kind of just talking about where she was in the beginning up to, well, we haven't kind of gotten into the 2023 year yet, but we were just kind of talking through what's happened from 2019 up until now. And so when just before the break, we were talking about how she was missing out. She's making more money, was, that kind of thing, but still, though she is traveling and doing some things with her friends, she is still limited on to what extent she does things with her friends. And she was saying how I asked her, was there anything that she felt was very difficult during this journey so far? And she was saying that missing out on certain types of experiences with her friends. Now, just to clarify, it's not that she couldn't, because she could afford to. It's just a conscious choice that she's making, because her financial goals to buy this house are more important than her having extravagant experiences with her friends. But I'll let you speak to that, because you were talking about, missing out. So what type of, can you give us like maybe one example of, something that you had to say no to?
Which trip would that be?
So it's really more about the trips that are kind of like major, like maybe going to France or something, that costs a boatload of money. Something along those lines, maybe.
Exactly. And I will say, like, I don't want anybody that I know to hear this and they say that girl is still never home. So even though I'm not going on trips as much as I want, I'm still not here, not at home, at least one weekend out the month, I'm not here. But I just feel like the type of trips that I want to go on all of the time, I can't do multiple international trips in a year like some of my friends can right now. I can do 2 or 3. I'll save for that, but I can't do the spur of the moment. Let's go to Cabo next month or go to Cancun next month. I can't save up or plan for that in 30 days the way I would with other trips. So it's those kind of experiences. It's the quantity as well. So
Gotcha. But I don't want to gloss over what you just said a minute ago, which was, don't get it twisted. I still take a trip every month. Okay. I'm going somewhere at least once a month, people. Do you hear me? Okay. While I'm still paying down my student loans and I have paid off my car, and I'm still being financially responsible adult. I don't take the major trips, but I'm still taking a trip every month. Did you catch that? I just want you to catch what she said at 28 years old, because again, like I've said in the beginning, you have the ability to create the life that you want. So anything that she's not going on is because she decided that this was not even me telling her not to do it. This is her telling her not to do it because she's like, no, I got to save because I want to buy this house and I don't want to. She has done a good job of not wasting the opportunity that her parents have given her to be able to live at home and to pay down her student loan debt. So, again, I can't give you enough kudos on because I can't even say honestly that I would have felt that way at 28. I can't even say that I would have been mature enough to be like, yeah, y'all go ahead. I'll catch y'all next time. I probably would have been trying to find a way. So,
but you didn't have a you. You didn't have a you. I
you're
had
right.
a you.
You're absolutely right. You're right.
Lay out a plan and say, if you do this, this will happen. And I already knew based on what I had heard about you that you when you say something's gonna happen, you help people make it happen. So I definitely bought into the dream that you showed me, and it's gonna become a reality within the next 6 months. So
amen. I love it. Yeah, I'm with you on the travel every month piece. That's where I'm at. I'm like, look, I just need a break. I need to go somewhere once a month. It don't have to be, away is away to me. So I could go to Myrtle Beach. I'm away. Okay. So, and sometimes I don't have to be out and away, meaning I can go if I went to Colorado for a weekend. I don't like to do cold weather, but that's okay. I don't need to be out. I can be in and still be away, you know what I mean? And enjoy myself. So, life is what you make it. Honestly, it really, really is. So fast forward. Oh, wait, before I get to that, you did have one I don't want to call it crisis because that's not really the right word. Setback, small setback that was a major setback to you, you know, but for some they might be like, "Oh, that ain't that big of a deal," but it is a big deal. It's subject to the person, you know, who is experiencing the big deal. And so that was, well, I'll let you tell us about that, what the
Yeah.
setback was.
So I kind of talked about this before about, all these experiences. I got, you know, my nice raise. I'm seeing what the raise looks like in my check. This is this past summer, and I would say like spring to summer, there were just so many things that me and my friends were trying to do. And I was trying to figure out how to make it work money wise. And
Yeah.
I have the Chase Sapphire card. So, I'm racking up points too,
Yep.
quote unquote, whenever I'm
Yep.
doing things, whenever I'm
That's a whole separate
traveling.
podcast right there, but go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm like, okay, I can do this, I can do this, that, and the third. And it just kind of kept spiraling. And then I got to a balance. I've never really had a credit card balance during this journey. Anytime I've had a credit card, I'm paying it off at the end of the month. But it kind of just kept growing and growing. And I'm like, I have all of this money that I saved over the years in my savings, but I don't want to touch my savings that I worked 4 years to build for
Mm-hmm.
summer fun that I just had to have, even though, again, I'm super close to moving out, super close to getting my house, but I didn't want to pass up these experiences and this time with my friends. So I had me a little credit card debt this summer, and I was trying to work some extra hours at my part-time job to kind of get it down, but I would
Mm-hmm.
make them extra money, and then I would find something else where I said, okay, it's just another $50, just another $100 here,
Mm-hmm.
and that just kept adding up, adding up. And I knew for me, because I was thinking that way,
Mm-hmm.
me seeing that balance of say like 3,000 on my credit card, it didn't mean much if I would say, okay, I'll just add another 50. But what I had to do was I had to just dig into that emergency savings and just hurt myself. I felt so disappointed in having to go into my emergency savings just because I wanted
Right.
to have a little bit of fun. But I knew if I wiped it out, I'm gonna be way less reluctant to add on to a credit card that I only have $100 or $50 versus like 3,000 or 4,000. I'm not going to
Mm-hmm.
care about another $50. So I knew myself, and I knew the mindset of if it's down to 0 or 100, I'm going to work really hard to keep it there. But if I let it go too much, then I'm just going to say, why not just keep going? So
You know, that's the mindset of a lot of people. Why not just keep going? They might not verbally say that, but their actions on the credit card reflect, well, you know, it was just $100, like you said, just 60, just 20. It's just. And before you know it, it's 4 or 5,000, it's 6,000, it's 8, it's 10. What the heck just
crazy how
happened?
math works.
Right. Well, how did we get here? How did we get here? So, you know, at least you're speaking to the human side. Like, yeah, you know, you've been disciplined, you've done well, you've saved up all this money, you've been paying student loans, doing all these things. But okay, yeah, every now and then you might have a little human error of, okay, you know what? I'm gonna let my guard down just a little bit. And the fact that you felt some type of way about it after doing it, you know, is the bigger deal that matters. Because if you didn't, if you were like, well, whatever, I'll just pay it off whenever, well, then that's a whole different mindset. You know what I mean? But for the fact that you had a good foundation over these last few years, though you had this little quick, you know, I'm gonna just go have a little bit of fun a little bit because I've been working so hard and being so diligent, you still was like, okay, you know what? Let me just go ahead and knock this out. And this is painful because I don't want to have to do this. So it was $3,000, right? So, you know, at least she knocked out the $3,000 in a short period of time. So there still wasn't a whole lot of interest that was, you know, we're not talking about a whole year of interest or even 6 months of interest, really, just a short time period. So you kind of, you know, let loose a little bit, but not too bad to where you weren't too far out there to where you were like, oh, I'm gone now. I'm gone. Somebody reel me back in. I'm gone. So it worked out. And the fact that so what with the part-time job, what was your thought life around? Because you didn't necessarily have to get a part-time job, but you chose to. Why did you choose to get a part-time job?
I think one, it was kind of already built into my schedule from grad school. Partly, when I was in grad school, I had a grad assistantship that was 20 hours a week, and then I would have an internship, and then I would have my part-time job because they didn't pay a lot at the
Mm-hmm.
time. And my thought behind that, moving from after I got my full-time job and keeping it, was, I can use the money from my part-time job for as my spend money and my fun money so that I don't see anything from my full-time check. So because I was living at home, I was able to budget to a way that the part-time job money, if it was like 300 or 400 every 2 weeks or so, I could use that for my spending money and then just not touch my full-time check. And so over the years, I used to work evenings. I would do like 6 to 9, 6 to 10 sometimes. During the evenings, I would work about 25 maybe hours a week there in addition to my full-time job. And over the years, as I've made a little bit more, I've kind of cut back more and more on my part-time job, but I still have it now. I don't know my part-time jobs now. I don't know. I have a lot of interests as well. So I'm able to explore my interests through my part-time jobs. But it was just a supplement so that I don't have to just rely on one thing.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make as much money as I could in that amount of time. And again, I think I'm always trying to be grateful and cognizant of living at home, that I don't want to not take advantage of that and make as much and do as much as I can. So that's partly where that came from. And I also give a shout out to my dad on that one. I've never seen my dad only have one job. He has always had his full-time job and had his upholstery business on the side. And so even my mom too, I just see their work ethic, and that makes me think I can work hard and I can get there too. So that part-time job is nothing in comparison to that.
Gotcha. I think, that last couple of sentences that you said about, wanting to make sure that you take full advantage of, doing as much as you can while you can, is probably every parent's dream of what they wish their child would say if they were living at home. I'm sure there's a lot of parents listening like, oh, Lord, can she be my child? Can she be my child? Praise the Lord. But and we love our kids. We love our kids. I'm just speaking for parents in general, you know what I mean? So, but so anyway, so now kind of fast forwarding to kind of where you are now. So we've talked about the fact that the big goal is you want to buy a house. And I know that we've had some consultations around that, just even talking about understanding how much house you can afford, because that's been a very big deal. Because it's easy to be like, oh, well, I'm making this amount of money, so I'm been the houses I'm looking at are like 350, 400,000, or whatever the case may be, and if I recall correctly, I think whatever number you originally had, didn't I come under that? What didn't I give you? Yeah, I thought it was a little bit.
You was right on with that 350. We had to knock it down another 50.
Yeah. I couldn't remember exactly what it was, but I knew it was somewhere in that ballpark. So yeah, whatever her number was, I kind of had to bring that down just a little bit, because the reality is people get qualified based on their gross annual salary, but you're not living on your gross annual salary. You're living off your take-home pay after all the deductions and everything. So you really have to look at it from a different perspective. Your housing payment, this is out of the school of Breanna Colón, your housing payment should not be more than 30% of your take-home pay for the month. Now, some of y'all need to go ahead on and pull out your calculator on your phone and go ahead and figure out, where are you with your housing payment, whether you're in an apartment or whether you're in a house. That might be part of your problem. If you feel like you're not where you should be financially, that might be part of your problem, is that, oh man, I got too much house in relation to my salary. If your whole check, if one whole check, you get paid every 2 weeks, and one whole check is taking up your entire mortgage, that means that half of your income is going to your house. That's too much. If you think about how much you make and you put it on a pie, if you make $5,000, if you take home $5,000 a month, and that's the whole pie, the $5,000, and your housing payment is $2,500, like, how much of your house, how much of your money do you want going towards the house versus everything else you want to be able to do? If you want to be able to travel at your leisure, or just be able to do whatever fun stuff you like to do whenever you want to be able to do it, then you have to be mindful of how much money you have going out the door to every little thing. You really have to consider that. If your car note is $1,000 a month and you're making $5,000, well, that's a problem. That's 20% of your pay, of your take-home pay. That's pretty huge. That 20% of my money is taking up my car. What? So yes, some of y'all need to do some math and figure out, man, that might be the solution to my problem already. I just need to buy less house, or I need to move into a cheaper apartment. because what I'm living in is swallowing me up. It's swallowing up my money. So for some of y'all, that might be a revelation. For some of you, you might be spot on, like, oh yeah, I'm doing good. I'm well under my 30%. Shoot, you know? So anyway, so we were talking about your house and we said, okay, yeah, we pulled up some houses online and I was showing her how to look at, not just look at the sales price, but also look at the taxes, because the taxes can vary from one area to another. And sometimes you can have a higher price house that might have lower taxes, or a lower price house that has higher taxes, or another neighborhood that has HOA dues, any number of things that can drive your mortgage payment. So you can't solely base it on just the price. You got to look at everything. So we started looking at some of that and trying to figure out, like, okay, I want her to think about this lifestyle you like so much. Like, I want you to still be able to do all of that after you buy the house. Like, get the house, keep the house, be comfortable in the house, and have those travel experiences that you talked about. So how hard was it for you to swallow the I need to buy less house pill?
Honestly, I've been on this journey with you for a while now, so it gets easier as time. Not as much as a whammy every single time.
Right,
So,
right.
and I think that I already kind of knew that going into it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just need you to tell me that. I need you to tell me that it's too much or not enough. I know sometimes when I'm coloring outside the lines, just need a little second opinion to confirm. But I mean, to that, it was like, well, I didn't even know whether or not there were houses at that level that I like, because that's not where I looked. Because to your point, when I talked to them, they were like, well, you can go up to 350 and knock out all this and still afford it. I'm like, okay. So I'm looking at homes that are 350.
Yeah.
Do I need to have a home that's 350 just for me? I only have to be with the program. I only have to stay in the house for 5 years. So for 5 years, do I need that much house? Actually, no. So it just was, again, another like mindset shift of what do you actually need? Like, and I think part of that is, since I haven't lived in an apartment, I am coming from a home. It was hard to imagine living in a smaller space because I've been here for so long. So that also had to be like, wait, Janai, that is why you're literally thinking that way. But you live here with, I designed to live here with four people total. So
right.
It was kind of just logical. But sometimes you have to have that bubble popped. And then I changed the filter on the houses that I was seeing. And I'm like, okay, I'm still seeing stuff that I like. It's just 200, 300 less square feet that I wasn't going to need anyway. So it's a little hard, but
perspective. That's really all it's about. And now that you brought that up about the program, I'm glad you brought that up, because I almost forgot to mention that. So Janai is going to be using the Smart Buy program. So guys, if you're not familiar with this, you want to go to mmp.maryland.gov. M as in Mary, P as in Paul, .maryland.gov, and look up the Smart Buy program. It's called the Maryland Smart Buy 3.0 program, and it's for home buyers who have existing student loan debt. Now, in her particular case, I didn't even get to finish talking about the student loan debt. So first of all, we talked about the fact that it started at $210,000, right? We were all like, whoa, what? And so since that time, 75,000 of it has gotten forgiven. I could turn on some shout music.
Yes.
75,000 of that has gotten forgiven, because that was that particular loan, that one was under one of your parents' names, and so they were able to get that loan forgiven. What a blessing, what a blessing, what a blessing. And so that brought it down to 141. That brought it down to $141,000 at that point. And sent from 2019 to now, she has paid down this student loan debt to $65,000. I just hear applause in the background. What? Yes. And again, I'm going to repeat it because it's worth repeating. From $141,000 down to $65,000 is where her student loan debt is. And that was while paying off the car, while still traveling, while still putting money into retirement, while still eating and doing and living life. I mean, like, really, for real. This, if she isn't a testament to what's possible, I mean, I can't. So the point is, though, with the Smart Buy program, they've You mentioned that they had changed the parameters because it was higher. The maximum loan amount that they'll pay off now under this program is $40,000 if you're buying a house, whereas it used to be, what was it before, 50?
50. Yep.
Yeah, so it used to be $50,000, but now it's 40. And so the way the program works, they provide financing for up to 15% of the home purchase for the borrower to pay off their outstanding student loan debt with a maximum payoff of 40,000. So her goal right now is to be able to pay down that 65,000 now down to the 40,000. That kind of slowed her train a little bit because she was on track to do the whole 50,000, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, we changed it to 40," and she was like, "What? What?" And so now she's got to, put forth a little bit more effort and be a little bit be patient for a little bit longer. But if she does it and she pays it down to that $40,000 mark, when she gets into this new loan and buys her house, they will pay off her student loan debt. Like, that is huge. And so the timeline, what's the timeline for that? Is it 3 years? How long do you have to stay in the house for that loan to not have to be paid back?
5 years.
5 years. Okay. So that's the stipulation. If you buy a house and you plan to live there for a good little minute, then if you can stand to live in this house you bought for 5 years, then you don't have to pay that money back. Like, how cool is that? You're buying a house and you get your student loan debt paid off. What? Sign me up. Okay. Like, that is huge. So this is the program, like I said, that she's been working through. And of course, like I said, if you're not familiar with it and you're thinking about buying a house and you have a student loan, again, you can have multiple loans, but the totality of your loans cannot be more than 40,000. All the student loan debt has to be able to be paid off in order for you to get into this program. So I just want to make sure that you're clear on that. So anyway, so now you got the 65,000, you're going to pay that down to the 40, which is great. And now she has gotten savings up. Like I mentioned to y'all in the beginning, she started with $9,000 in 2019, and then she upped it to 20,000 by 2020. And so now she is up to $49,700. I hear the cheers again in the background. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. 49. There's people twice your age that wish they had 49,700. I'm just saying that is the truth, and so again, anything is possible. The sky's the limit for you at this point, because once you get into the house, because it's her first time, and combined with all of my previous mortgage lender experience, we're going to make sure she has a fantastic buying process, obviously, and gets into the house, pretty inexpensively as far as closing costs are concerned. So she'll be able to still have an adequate emergency fund going into the house. She'll be able to do the things that she needs to do moving in, and she'll still be able to travel. And at that point, we'll be working on a new plan for her having all these extra experiences. All of that is just really, really lovely, really, really lovely. So, so yeah, the kudos to you. And then also, like I said, she's still been putting money in towards retirement as well. I think I noted that you wanted to retire by age 55, I believe. Is that still the case?
Yeah. If I can retire earlier, shoot, yeah.
But I know that's right. Well, I think you should know by now that if is subject to a good plan and following it. You know what I mean? The if can absolutely become a is. It's happening. So 55, when we started this process, and at 24, most 24-year-olds are not really thinking like, oh, I think I want to retire at 55. That's not the top of the list of things they're thinking about. But I challenged her to think about that, because I'm like, okay, you started working, so that means you need to start planning for retirement now and figure out, when do you want to have at least be positioned financially to have the choice to retire. That's really the big deal, is having the choice to retire. So she was like, well, at that time it was 55. And as she grows and evolves, it's probably going to keep changing. Next thing you know, she might be like, yeah, I'm thinking 45 now. Yeah. So I'm just saying, what you want is possible. I can't stress it enough. I really can't. I know y'all going to think I'm a broken record saying it, but there's so many people that can't see past today, can't see past the current paycheck or the next paycheck, or they don't see where anything that they want is possible. And I'm here to tell you it is. With the right financial plan and a changed mindset. That's our slogan. change your life, nope, I said it wrong. Let's try it again. Change your mind, change your money, change your life. If you change your thinking and how you do things, you undo your bad habits and you create some new, better habits around money and money decisions, along with a solid financial plan, anything you want to do and achieve is possible. Do you believe me? Yes, you do. Say, yes, you do. Yes, I do. I believe you. Okay. I am your cheerleader for today. All right. You got to believe in yourself. You absolutely can do it. So with that, I just want to say thank you, Janai. The only last thing I'll mention is that Janai has been rocking and killing it so well that I have hired her to work with the Integrity Financial team and trained her as a financial consultant. I hear the applause again. Oh my God. So she is available. So for some of the young adults, and not that she's not limited to working with young adults, I'm just saying, but for some of the young adults that, you know, felt inspired by all that she's talked about today, and you're like, you know what, I need to be like that. Janai can hook you up. You know, look her up. You can see her on our website at www.integrityfsi for Financial Solutions Inc.com. Integrity, F as in Frank, S as in Sam, I as in igloo.com. But she is one of our financial consultants. And as you can see, she is a living testament. She's not just, you know, going through the motions of helping people with their finances, but she is also living it herself and has accomplished a lot of great things. So with that, again, thank you so much, Janai, for taking the time to hang with me this evening. It's been fun. All right, people, if you don't mind, please, if you've enjoyed this podcast, please feel free to share it with others that maybe need some encouragement, need to be inspired, maybe even going through a tough time, to know that there is hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel. If they need help, they need to seek help. We're also here to help, but we know this is not necessarily about us. This is about people doing better and getting to a place of financial freedom. And with that, I'll say bye-bye. See you next time.